The Wood Beyond the World. Chapter 3. Walter heareth tidings of the death of his father. Fast sailed the Catherine over the seas, and naught befell to tell of, either to herself or her crew. She came to one cheaping town and then to another, and so on to a third and a fourth, and at each was buying and selling after the manner of chapmen, and Walter not only looked on the doings of his father's folk, but lent a hand what he might, to help them in all matters, whether it were in seaman's craft or in chaffer. And the further he went and the longer the time wore, the more he was eased of his old trouble wherein his wife and her treason had to do. But as for the other trouble, to wit his desire and longing to come up with those three, it yet flickered before him, and though he had not seen them again as one sees people in the streets, and as if he might touch them if he would, yet were their images often before his mind's eye, and yet, as time wore, not so often nor so troublessly, and forsooth both to those about him and to himself, he seemed as a man well healed of his melancholy mood. Now they left that fourth stead and sailed over the seas and came to a fifth, a very great and fair city which they had made more than 7 months from Langton on home, and by this time was Walter taking heed and joyance in such things as were toward in that fair city. So far from his kindred, and especially he looked on the fair women there, and desired them and loved them but lightly as befalleth young men. Now this was the last country whereto the Catherine was bound, so there they abode some 10 months in daily chaffer, and in pleasuring them in beholding all that there was of rare and goodly, and making merry with the merchants and the townsfolk, and the country folk beyond the gates, and Walter was grown as busy and gay as a strong young man is like to be, and was as one who would fain be of some account amongst his own folk. But at the end of this while it befell on a day, as he was leaving his hostel for his booth in the market, and had the door in his hand, there stood before him 3 mariners in the guise of his own country, and with them was one of clerkly aspect, whom he knew at once for his father's scrivener, Arnold Penstrong by name, and when Walter saw him his heart failed him, and he cried out, "Arnold, what tidings? Is all well with the folk at Langton?" Said Arnold, "Evil tidings are come with me, matters are ill with thy folk, for I may not hide that thy father, Bartholomew Golden, is dead, God rest his soul." At that word it was to Walter as if all that trouble which but now had sat so light upon him was once again fresh and heavy, and that his past life of the last few months had never been, and it was to him as if he saw his father lying dead on his bed, and heard the folk lamenting about the house. He held his peace a while, and then he said in a voice as of an angry man, "What, Arnold? And did he die in his bed, or how? For he was neither old nor ailing when we parted." Said Arnold, "Yea, in his bed he died, but first he was somewhat sword-bitten." "Yea, and how?" quoth Walter. Said Arnold, "When thou wert gone, in a few days wearing, thy father sent thy wife out of his house back to her kindred of the Reddings with no honor, and yet with no such shame as might have been, without blame to us of those who knew the tale of thee and her, which, God a mercy, will be pretty much the whole of the city. Nevertheless, the Reddings took it amiss, and would have a mote with us Goldings to talk of booting. By ill luck we said that for the saving of the city's peace. But what betid? We met in our guild hall, and there befell the talk between us, and in that talk certain words could not be hidden, though they were none too seemly nor too meek. And the said words once spoken drew forth the whetted steel, and there then was the hewing and thrusting. 2 of ours were slain outright on the floor, and 4 of theirs, and many were hurt on either side. Of these was thy father, for as thou mayst well deem, he was not backward in the fray, but despite his hurts, 2 in the side and 1 on the arm, he went home on his own feet, and we deemed that we had come to our above. But well way, it was an evil victory, whereas in 10 days he died of his hurts. God have his soul. But now, my master, thou mayst well wit that I am not come to tell thee this only, but moreover to bear the word of the kindred, to wit that thou come back with me straightway in the swift cutter which hath borne me and the tidings, and thou mayst look to it, that though she be swift and light, she is a keel full weatherly." Then said Walter, "This is a bidding of war. Come back will I, and the Reddings shall what of my coming? Are ye all bound?" "Yea," said Arnold, "we may up anchor this very day, or tomorrow morn at latest. But what aileth thee, master, that thou starest so wild over my shoulder? I pray thee take it not so much to heart. Ever it is the wont of fathers to depart this world before their sons." But Walter's visage from wrathful red had become pale, and he pointed up street, and cried out, "Look! Dost thou see?" "See what, master?" quoth Arnold. "What? Here cometh an ape in gay raiment, belike the beast of some jongler. Nay, by God's wounds, 'tis a man, though he be exceeding misshapen like a very devil. Yea, and now there cometh a pretty maid going as if she were of his meany, and lo! Here, a most goodly and noble lady. Yea, I see, and doubtless she owneth both the 2, and is of the greatest of the folk of this fair city, for on the maiden's ankle I saw an iron ring, which betokeneth thraldom amongst these aliens. But this is strange. For noticed thou not how the folk in the street heed not this quaint show, nay not even the stately lady, though she be as lovely as a goddess of the Gentiles, and beareth on her gems that would buy Langton twice over, surely they must be over. Won't a strange and gallant sights. But now, master, but now. Yeah, what is it? Said Walter. Why, master, they should not yet be gone out of eyeshot, yet gone they are. What has become of them? Are they sunk into the earth? Tush, man, said Walter, looking not on Arnold but still staring down the street. They have gone into some house while thine eyes were turned from them a moment. Nay, master, nay, said Arnold, mine eyes were not off them one instant of time. Well, said Walter, somewhat snappishly, they are gone now, and what have we to do to heed such toys, we with all this grief and strife on our hands? Now would I be alone to turn the matter of thine errand over in my mind. Meantime do thou tell the shipmaster Geoffrey and our other folk of these tidings, and thereafter get thee all ready, and come hither to me before sunrise tomorrow, and I shall be ready for my part, and so sail we back to Langton. Therewith he turned him back into the house, and the others went their ways, but Walter sat alone in his chamber a long while, and pondered these things in his mind. And whiles he made up his mind that he would think no more of the vision of those three, but would fare back to Langton, and enter into the strife with the Reddings, and quell them, or die else. But lo, when he was quite steady in this doom, and his heart was lightened thereby, he found that he thought no more of the Reddings and their strife, but as matters that were past and done with. And that now he was thinking and devising if by any means he might find out in what land dwelt those three. And then again he strove to put that from him, saying that what he had seen was but meat for one brainsick and a dreamer of dreams. But furthermore he thought, yea, and was Arnold, who this last time had seen the images of those three, a dreamer of waking dreams? For he was not wanted in such wise. Then thought he, at least I am well content that he spake to me of their likeness, not I to him, for so I may tell that there was at least something before my eyes which grew not out of mine own brain. And yet again, why should I follow them, and what should I get by it, and indeed how shall I set about it? Thus he turned the matter over and over, and at last, seeing that if he grew no foolisher over it, he grew no wiser, he became weary thereof, and bestirred him, and saw to the trussing up of his goods, and made all ready for his departure. And so wore the day, and slept at nightfall, and at daybreak comes Arnold to lead him to their keel, which hight the Bartholomew. He tarried not, and with few farewells went aboard ship, and an hour after they were in the open sea with the ship's head turned toward Langton on home.